This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Dispute with Stu here and winds up going to work for Al Tomko for almost a year. Again, this time as the Honky Tonk Man. And then he buries the hatchet with Stu, goes back there for a while. And around that same time, the Honky Tonk Man winds up on a WWF show at the Calgary Saddle Dome that Stu was involved in. And at that show, allegedly, Hulk Hogan took Honky into the bathroom and asked why he hasn't joined up with the WWF yet. The two had known each other from much earlier in their careers, but hadn't met up in some time until that event. And of course, by then, Hulk Hogan's on top of the world. And Honky said he didn't think he was good enough, but Hulk disagreed and said, no, you're good as anyone. And he says the next morning he would get a call from Vince, and Honky says, sure enough, the next morning the phone rang and he prepared for his next step in life, the World Wrestling Federation. And he admits that he was a nervous wreck during that call with Vince. And I guess in this era, I guess these days too, man, if you're a professional wrestler trying to make your name and Vince McMahon calls your phone, it's a pretty damn big deal.
Well, sure. Especially when you're working in Calgary and just trying to get by. So Wayne is freezing his ass off in Calgary and the Hulkster. And I always heard the story. I heard the story from, the other side, from Hulk and actually from Vince as well, that Hulk had seen Wayne. I want to say that he saw a man like in Alabama or Continental during one of the stints there where Hulk and Honky had crossed paths, and then seeing him in Calgary, saw the gimmick and fell in love with the gimmick. Said, man, this gimmick is tailor-made for the WWF. Told Vince about it, says, we got to get this guy. We got to bring him in. He's going to be huge, and people are going to love him. He's a fucking natural, charismatic babyface. The rest, as they say, is history.
Yes, it is. It's pretty remarkable that this is a real thing. Honky said seeing the huge crowd that the WWF played to in Calgary really made him want to go there and realize this really is the big time. Plus, everybody in wrestling had been hearing about the big paydays, and he was hearing the same thing from the Bulldogs, who occasionally came back. And of course, Brett was there, and he says hearing of their paydays made him want to do it even more. And he said that Vince called Stu to make sure his obligations weren't broken in Stu's mind. And that week he got to meet with Vince and bring a tape, and he winds up getting the job. I'm fascinated by those little details, and I know you get annoyed with me wanting all the little minutia of the time, but did everybody bring a tape to a meeting with Vince, or would he had already have seen it? It does feel a little weird. Like, okay, let's pop your tape in and watch it together, pal.
Well, again, man, you didn't have cable then. So it wasn't like you could go either to cable and or the internet and just, oh, hey, let me see this guy. Let me type him in the old Google machine and take a look at him. You didn't have that. So it was word of mouth or by videotape and or both. So not unusual at all. That's shit, how you showed what you could do.
How often did Vince do that? I mean, it does feel like such an interesting dynamic. Like, can you imagine if Vince calls Bill Watts and says, just want to make sure that Dog is really finished up with you. Like on some level, it feels like we're bitter competition, but with Stu, maybe because of the relationship with Brett, of course, and the Bulldogs, perhaps you just feel like that's a little different, right?
Stu wasn't bitter competition.
Right.
And Stu was in many ways family. And, I really believe that had Vince had the opportunity with a lot of them, again, he did go to everybody and did say, hey, let's work together. And guys like Bill Watts and the Sheik and Crockett and all those guys were like, no, man, we'll kill you. And he said, okay, I'm going to do it anyway. So, he was working with Stu, he being Vince, and Vince had respect for Stu and let him know. Just good business.
Here's where the story gets really fun and a little weird. In early '86, a young Dwight Yoakam released his version of Honky Tonk Man. And Yoakam's rendition is even a bigger hit than the original. It debuts at number 74 on the country chart on March 1st, 86, and it charted for 24 weeks on that chart, peaking at number 3 in June of 86. And this is the debut single on his debut album that he self-financed. In other words, the Honky Tonk Man put not only Wayne Ferris on the map, but Dwight Yoakam. And 3 months after the song hits its peak, what do you know? The Honky Tonk Man joins the WWE. Talk about timing, right? Is Honky Tonk Man one of the biggest, right time, right place? I mean, this is one of those great stories, is it not?
Timing is everything. Shit,
Yeah.
Brother Love was the same thing from the standpoint of Jim and Tammy Faye and Jessica Hahn and everything. It's a beautiful thing,
right,
when it all works out and a plan comes together. It's like, okay, hey, yeah, we planned it, but sometimes it's just fate, and it's good fate. And speaking of Dwight Yoakam, talked to John Paul Shellnut. We talked about him last week. I'm just going to give you an update because, see, it's common denominator here, Connie. Dwight Yoakam and John Paul Shellnut are good friends.
Sure.
And so the other night when I was talking to John Paul on one of my drive homes at 2:30 in the morning, he had just hung up with Dwight Yoakam.
Oh, wow.
Who called checking on him and shit. So JP is still, he's still not in great condition. So we still need those prayers and those good thoughts to old John Paul Shellnut there. And he's moved to a rehab hospital and still doesn't have any movement in his left side. So we got to just send him some good thoughts there in Houston, Texas. And we love you, JP. But Dwight Yoakam, see how it ties in? Because he's just a honky tonk man. Diddly diddly doo. I like Honky's version better than Dwight's.
Are you hopped up on Mountain Dew?
So
he makes his TV debut for you guys on September 28th, 1986 on Wrestling Challenge, beating the venerable Terry Gibbs. And for folks who don't know, Honky Tonk Man was a babyface. He's going to debut as a good guy with suspenders, which seems really strange looking back. And in interviews, Honky said kids, at least in Vince's mind, kids wearing little sideburns and buying merchandise to look like him was going to be the way to go. Can you imagine? I mean, listen, not too long after this, y'all are going to debut a couple of guys who come lick kids on the way to the ring. So stranger things have happened, but kids with little sideburns, I don't know why, but that's freaking hilarious to me.
I'm just a honky tonk kid. He's a honky tonk kid. He's a honky tonk kid. Why not?
Listen, you're exactly right. You've made more money doing this than me. It's just like, what? Of course, everyone else thought the same thing. It was a total flop. I know this predates you, but the Honky Tonk Man is a babyface. What'd you think of this?
Well, I remember watching it from afar and thinking, God damn, you wanted to slap the shit out of him.
Right.
It was just very annoying, and it was so over the top, and Wayne was trying so hard that as a viewer, it didn't feel real. And the fact that I know they were banking on the nostalgia, the Elvis tie-in. Everybody loves Elvis, right?
Right.
Can't boo a fucking Elvis impersonator.
No.
So they're going to love Honky Tonk Man. They, even in that Elvis world, if you're not really good at doing Elvis,
oh, they hate you.
Fuck you, man. Shave your head, motherfucker. Get them sideburns off you. You don't deserve to wear those sideburns like the king.
Boy, I don't know why that's funny to me, but it is. You don't deserve them sideburns.
Well, you don't. Motherfucker, if you can't, no. Just shave that shit off. You ain't no goddamn king.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.